Hey, this is Mike. Welcome to the Pathfinders podcast. Dipika and I met last week. We're going to talk about what we have noticed over Christmas in terms of the beginning of 24 and where life is going in terms of finding happiness, joy, and really our own sense of power and purpose. There was such an opportunity in what we were talking about that I ended up just pressing record and we dove straight in. So have a listen.
And I think that, there's just this beautiful opportunity to, again, reiterate that, and this is where your work is so powerful in it too, is to reiterate that we've just got to turn the lens a few degrees away from that which is so externally orientated as to what success and wellness and fulfillment is, and trust our own experience of it that we may not even have words for, we may not even have language for.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's not determined by things going on outside of us, and that is what will enable us to be okay with navigating the landscape of having a roof over our heads and food on the table and paying bills and accessing a stream of resources that we've otherwise been chasing using outmoded formulas.
So you think there's new ways to find those things as well?
Yeah, which are tied in back with that, which is why I think that message of well-being or that orientation toward this wellness really appeals to me, because it's got a really abundant reverberation to it of what's already alive in you, what's working for you, what's not working for you.
Well, there is, yeah. There is a continuum, and then there's new opportunity, I think, to for greater happiness, not necessarily greater money or purpose or anything like that, but for greater happiness, to find those parts of who we really are that awaken us to what it is that we just love doing for ourselves.
Yes, yeah. So then what's obvious to me, and that is, what are you growing? Asking people, what are you growing for yourself?
Yeah.
Just what are you growing in 2024? Because you've already planted the seeds. So what is it?
Yeah. I saw a beautiful meme that a friend showed me, that is just a list of all the things that we do that just make us happy. It's like not individual things, but go out and find those things instead of trying to monetize being good at drawing or monetize being good at writing or whatever. Just go and write for your own sake. Don't
Yeah.
think about
Draw for the sake
copying.
of drawing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for your own enjoyment.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
totally different.
Yeah. Which is also, again, it's that then the pressure that shows, like, where there's that, oh, well, I can draw, or I like to do this, or I like to do that, and I'm good at
Yeah.
it. How can I monetize it?
Mm.
Everyone else is monetizing it. Everyone tells me I can monetize it. How can I monetize it? And then that can just be a really painful place to be, because what you love doing that brings you joy, enabling to do whatever it is you're doing in the world, is suddenly all fucked up. You don't even enjoy drawing anymore.
I know, because you're not drawing. The thing is, and drawing the
You
beautiful example is that we naturally want to draw anything. Like, oh, I feel drawn to draw, the plant outside or that roof, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, doodling. That's where spontaneous sort of doodling can just be
yeah,
magical. Yeah.
yeah. And then we get caught into monetizing it, and then we get, because we're good at it, and then we get caught into, oh, somebody comes along and says, oh, well, yeah, can you do that? But can you add this and this and this? And all of a sudden, it's not your drawing anymore.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful example of so many things
Mm.
in life, and it's sort of being hijacked. Again, it's where we get hijacked
Yeah.
from what brings us happiness.
Yeah, and I think this is interesting because that hijacking um, is a perfect example of how there's a part of the world that is all about the monetization, the presentation, and we are on the world, surface level stuff, the dimensional reality, all of that. And it just keeps pushing us into that path. And the reality is that if we were just drawing, as a perfect example, doodling spontaneously, whatever we feel like, you don't know what's going to come of that, and you don't know what's going to lead to, because you're in the moment, you're not in the
Mm.
future.
Mm.
So this is taking something that's natural to you and just being in the moment with it, as opposed to, how have I done this in the past? How am I going to do this in the future? Blah, 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 blah. It's
Mm.
a plan, it becomes a plan. So it's interesting to just be in the moment with those things.
Yeah, because it's a way of cultivating presence.
Mm.
And then the downloads and all of the information, like it starts to then inform you in really quite unexpected, but in really clear, aligned ways
Mm.
that have
Yeah.
nothing to do with your doodling necessarily,
No.
but are the solutions to these lingering questions and problems and challenges.
Mm. Including just being joyful.
Totally. Just being joyful for the sake of being joyful. Like there's nothing more to it.
There isn't. There isn't. And it's interesting because I feel like this joyfulness, at the moment is under the pressure of all these old things that are coming up for resolution. To circle back to that beginning, um, of just reassessing my life and how I want to live it, and um, yeah, and it's coming up so fast in that discussion, in that investigation, that I can barely concentrate on what I really love to do. And yet there it is. It's always there available. And I'm sure that every time I switch to that, just go, no, I'm just going to take some time off and concentrate on drawing, doodling, being happy, whatever. All that other stuff disappears.
There's something so powerful in what you've just shared. It's like that speeding up,
Mm.
that acceleration, and all the self-inquiry that comes with that. Like, whoa, hang on, I'm just gonna pause for a moment and do what I love. It feels to me that that's all part of the bigger picture of what's happening, so that we do. It's almost the collapsing of time seems conceptual. It doesn't feel experiential
Yeah.
until we yield to the fight against it, the fight to be creating, the fight to be producing, the fight to be productive, the fight to be keeping up, getting through the to-do list. But suddenly this is just this. I can't make sense of this. This is
Mm.
beyond logically what I can handle or even manage. I'm just going to do what I love for a moment, or I'm just going to pause and sit under a tree, or pull out the fishing rod, or draw, or sew, or which makes no sense right now because there's a deadline to write up a contract, or to prepare a curriculum, or to write a chapter, or to sew
Yeah.
10 garments to go on, on the racks to sell, whatever it may be, to market, to do whatever it may be.
Mm.
But in that moment of, poof, I'm just going to do what brings me joy, you achieve everything
Mm.
that is true and real.
Yeah.
Everything.
I reckon that's, you spoke about the wellness um, before, of people just being in that space, being
Yeah.
in that deep sense of themselves, and for no other reason than just being there, being
Yeah.
happy. And I think that is such a beautiful thing to, especially coming from you. I know you're, qualified in this and that around wellness. But it's such a weird kind of a shift, because so many people are about the, take this medicine, take that, you know what I mean? Like take that, pill, whatever it is. And the reality is, when you look at it from the point of view of who are we really uh, in action for, who are we really being in this moment for, it brings us a step away from the human experience and into where the soul really kicks in and lands. What is our potential? Where are we really going to go? That clarity that comes from not moving with the body and its pains and its eyesight problems, and it's like all of that, and internally switching to actually it's run by the soul.
Yeah,
And what are the souls here to do?
what the soul's here to do.
Mm.
So, what is it that compels the soul to keep coming back,
Yeah.
lifetime after lifetime, to keep coming earthside, to keep coming into the form of human experience, human existence?
Mm.
And it's not about where people sit on, a Forbes scale of wealthy, or how many followers people have on Instagram, or 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 how many clients you have doing what you're doing, or what the profit or loss is at the end of the day. Like, it's really, it's about the quality of a particular experience, and that's part of the puzzle, I guess, and the whole riddle of
Mm.
of life and being human is, well, how do we palpate that? What is that? And what does that mean to us?
Mm.
How do we access it? Because that is the domain of wellness.
Yeah.
That is the domain of wellness. As soon as we start to experience the qualities of that, we can call it wellness, we can call it fullness, we can call it wholeness. There's probably lots of things we can call it, but
Mm.
there's a quality about it where nothing is lacking. And it's
Yeah.
so multi-layered that it doesn't mean that we're not in pain. It doesn't mean we're not in heart pain, like feeling heart pain. It doesn't mean that we're not feeling grief, loss, sadness, disappointment. It doesn't mean that this physical instrument's not um, in a pain state because of a chronic condition, or an acute
Mm.
condition. And it doesn't mean that we don't treat it with remedies, emergency remedies, all kinds of remedies, plant-based remedies, for many people. And sometimes, it's necessary pharmaceutical remedies. But I think, or I feel, that this tapping into this, into what is this wellness state that
Mm.
exists in the deep, steadily, all the time, from which all the waves and all the fluctuations and all the impulses and sensations of being arise. How can I relate to that more? How can I access that and be in relationship to that more steadily, more consistently?
Yeah. And like, I don't know if you've come to see it the same way I do, but in terms of our human existence, that it's just one layer, and that we exist at all these layers, all at once. We don't have a space of time. It's an illusion. There is there is an existence that lands at this level, and this level, and this level, and this level. And so it comes to that place of it's up to us where we want to focus the power and the center of our attention. And in doing so, we move to this fulcrum. The alchemists used to talk about this pendulum, and everything's moving from rich to poor, or from healthy to sick, from loved to not loved, all of that. And we just go backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. But if we can be here, we can move to that fulcrum. Then all of that, the history of our obsession with healing and all of that. If you're in healing, it's because what are you against? Being sick. You're here. It puts you in that place over and over again. And if we move to this space where exactly what you talk about, we are We are deeply connected. We are whole. There is no healing to be done. We are, loved, welcome, supported, everything that we need to be, not because we're against something, but because it's a natural state, and just going to that place. I mean, I take clients there all the time, as you know. That place, that fulcrum has no opposite. It is just whole.
Yeah. So
And
yeah, sorry.
well, what I was going to say was from that wholeness, we can be in that space where, habitually we get to that wholeness. Every morning we get to that wholeness with a quick
Yeah.
meditation or whatever.
Yeah.
And to stay in that place as much as we can until it becomes true habit, it becomes power, you know.
I like that.
Mm.
I like that. That's a great way of explaining the benefit of self-care practice or meditation,
Yeah.
call it what you will, over and over, because it's really what you're describing is what are we focusing on? But if we only have an identification with ourselves as this physical body, and we don't have any conceptual space to even entertain the possibility that we are more than this physical body and that we exist in, beyond space and time,
Mm.
in higher realms all at once. It just, where do you go with that when it comes to not identifying fully with your thoughts, not identifying fully with your perceptions and your definitions based on your experiences? How do you not identify completely with what's not working in you
Yeah.
or what's not working in your life? How do you not fear death? Because what is the whole medical model and system and even wellness industry based on? I mean, we're shit scared to even age.
It's true.
We try to remove wrinkles and, and sagginess and graying
Yeah.
and all the markers of wisdom and maturation, all the markers that actually on this pendulum that you so beautifully described, that the alchemists described, have the qualities of the high end of the pendulum. They possess all of the qualities of the gold, all of the qualities of the pure insightfulness, of the higher intelligence, of the this is what joy is. This is what life's about. This is who I am.
Yeah. That's
So we
beautiful.
resist our own nature. And there's many ways that can be, described at the other end of the pendulum as well. But we deny ourselves of mastering our own nature.
You know what I love about that is that is um so turning back to that pendulum, right? There is the self and then there is other. Yeah. And we spend all of this time going from the sense of imagination, and I say that using, like, let's call it a lowercase I, to other people's opinion. Yeah. And so back and forth you go. The nature of education, the nature of school is so much based on, what other people have found and teaching you what those people have found. Yeah. And so what we do is glorify over time the ability for others to present whatever it is that they witness and call it authority. And so when we let all of this go and move to, I guess, imagination with a capital I, that fulcrum, that place where we can just go, how is this for me? how is this for my soul? How do I see this as a higher being? And just claim that authority, claim that
Yeah,
experience and just be happy with that, you know?
totally. Yeah. And so that's building a muscle.
Mm.
So I feel that the invitation really is to be building that muscle of constant, you can call it self-inquiry, but these are powerful questions to be asking yourself. And ultimately, it's going to lead to free thinking.
Mm.
And that seems to be really tied in with happiness too. Because what a joyful feeling to think freely and clearly of what is yours,
Yeah,
as opposed to, oh, well, this is mine because somebody told me this is the way it is, which is how we grow. That's
yeah,
how that's how most of us live the entirety of this life,
yeah.
of this body experience. But I think it's really tied in. I feel that it's really tied in with this quality of well-being, of well-being, because there's a beingness in being free to form your own relationship to the moment and whatever's presenting in it.
Mm.
It can be informed by so much around you and by the wisdom of others and what you've been taught. But this invitation to make it your own is
And to
part of this whole
recognize,
soul relationship to why we're here. Make it our own.
mm,
Make our experience our own living experience. And then we
yeah,
become more fully alive.
yeah. I think it's so beautiful. It's so important to acknowledge that because there's a level of not making it your own if you call it somebody else's authority, if you listen to it as somebody else's authority, as opposed to listening to it internally from your soul, and then what lands, what's true. It's a very different experience to just listen and cast aside anything that, or to pay it. That's not casting aside. Just pay attention to what is actually true. Might
Mm,
be, comes up in your dreams. It might come up in a conversation. It might come up in a passing conversation from somebody else.
mm,
But those things are there for you to pay attention to
mm.
and really find what lands for you. And the lovely thing about all of this, I think, is that it's only what lands for you in this moment. It's what you need to hear now,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
tomorrow it might not be relevant. You might be moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And so that way you are paying attention all the time in the moment that you're in the place that you're in, to what's relevant now. And that is incredibly, I find, incredibly empowering to just acknowledge, yep, that's true. And does it make me right? No, it just makes this moment right.
Yeah.
And that's all we need, because we're here in this moment.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm. There's so
Yeah.
much of society that is not based in this moment, and education that is not based in this moment. If you go to university, you will find all the stuff that is, like textbooks full of information that is all based in the past. Now, that's true. It's great if you want to learn that, and great to take that and apply it in this moment. But I think moving into the future with it as well, to think about all of those things that that may unfold in the future because of this, is risky, because it's just constantly changing. Things are constantly changing. People are constantly changing. And this kind of circles me back in a way to the beginning of this discussion, which was 2024. What the hell? Should we pay attention to, the resonance or the resistance? And I think it's
Oh, I
important
like that.
to recognize this surface level stuff that is just resistance. People talk about, 2024 is just another year, go about your business, blah, blah, blah. But there is a shift, I think, in how we access this internal power and how we take this internal story of who we are and just reassess quickly and move back into the space of spirit. And I think that this is more available than it's ever been right now.
Yeah. So the invitation is then to, how do we wish to experience 2024? Do we wish to experience it in resistance, which means our fears stay firmly entrenched in place, keeping us bound, growing even more in their stronghold over our dominion? Or do we choose resonance, which means we do have to build the muscle of discomfort in exploring the unfamiliar? Because the familiar, we all know what that looks like. That's doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome. And it's painful. Because if you do the same thing over and over, you don't get a different outcome. You get what you're already getting. That's surely going to remain the same in 2024.
Yeah, and all those people who stay at that level will justifiably come to the end of 2024 going, look, nothing's changed. It's exactly what I said.
The news is the same.
Yeah. And they'll walk away feeling right. And all those people who explore deeper will go, no, look, 2024 has changed. It's changed me. It's changed how I approach life. I was right. And so no matter what we do, we end up right, which is beautiful.
That's a win-win. That's a win-win. But then it comes back to the pendulum. Where are you on the pendulum?
Yeah.
So are you in joy? Have you befriended your mind? Can you be with what's alive in your heart? Can you feel what's even there? And what kind of physical energy do you have to meet each moment, to meet each day?
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I want to just add one more thing, and that is just circling back in a way to this discussion that you raised of fear of death, fear of whatever it is, right? And I really feel like it is important to acknowledge that this whole notion of we only have this lifetime is so wrong, because this is just an aspect of who we are as beings. And, people quote science to me all the time, and I just go, oh my God, that's science from 45 years ago, It's not like that. And we see now that, the cutting edge quantum physicists are just coming up to the level that, that Indian philosophy and Tibetan philosophy has been at for 3,000 years.
Yeah.
It is that we come back again and again and again as spirits into these different vehicles, these different bodies. And as much as, as much as this idea of, we're only here for one lifetime is true for those people, it's not true. They're going to walk away feeling they're right until they die, and then they're going to go, oh, I was wrong. So I really feel like, if you are in the position where you at least question that this is true, or you want direct experience of that, that's the best way to dig deeper, is to just explore the direct experience of how have I done this before? How many times have I done this before? Just ask those questions and see what comes up in the discussion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Powerful questions. Powerful questions to be asking ourselves. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does death exist? Well, yes, we're going to drop this physical body. Yes, death exists. We found a little fairy penguin on the beach yesterday that had just died. and buried it. And death exists all the time. We look at nature all around us, we see that there is death, but in terms of what you're speaking about, there is a continuum. Life is a continuum. We too are a continuum. So they're great, powerful questions to ask, because they expand our perspective of what we believe is true and possible. And that influences the choices that we're making from moment to moment. So these are what I would call healthy choices.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. Well, thank you, Dipika.
Thank you, Mike.
This is a great place to end this conversation.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah. Bye.